And welcome back to our live coverage of Great Lakes Week 2014. I'm Christy McDonald. Thanks for joining us here live in Grand Rapids as we have day one of Great Lakes Week, talking about all the various issues that are challenging the Great Lakes, some of the solutions, some of the problems, and some of the people who are doing a lot of work to help out. And joining me now is Clark Bunting. He is the CEO of the National Parks Conservation Association. Clark, it's good to see you.
Good to see you. Thank you.
So talk to me a little bit about the connection between the national parks and the Great Lakes and why you're here this week.
Well, I have a personal connection. I'm a Michigan boy, proud Spartan.
That's what I like to hear.
Wasn't quite so proud Saturday night.
All right, well, we won't talk about that.
Up until that, I was pretty proud about that. And grew up with mom and dad throwing my sister and I in the back of the station wagon in the really smelly green canvas tent.
That's how it goes.
And we go to Sleeping Bear sand dunes in northern Michigan. I worked in television, worked for Discovery Channel for 27 years, and after I retired, I said, those were the best sunsets in the world. So came back to spend some time on the Great Lakes, thinking about what was next, what would Chapter 2 look like, and trying to do some good work, and that's what led me to NPCA.
So when you have conversations this week and talking about the health of our Great Lakes and the importance of it, and really, I think, the engagement of the public.
Water's not easy. I mean, it is a more challenging topic to try to get folks to engage in. But when you look at it through a different lens, you say it's not just water, it's about health. It's about algae blooms. It's about people who can't give their kids water because tap water isn't safe for their children. That brings it home. And that also, I think, leads to a different way of telling a story. And that's hopefully what my cable experience, having spent time at Discovery, I'll be able to help tell stories. And I think that's a way to engage folks and connect them with why they should care and why the Great Lakes matter.
Well, and it's exactly what you talked about throwing the smelly tent in the back of the station wagon, is that everyone has those experiences with the Great Lakes. If you've grown up around the Great Lakes Basin, or even if you've decided to vacation here or experience any of the waterways here, it all starts with that personal connection that then maybe you can encourage someone to engage in. And that's really what National Parks is doing as well.
Yeah, and there's something, to my mind, that's very restorative about water. I'm a very bad fly fisherman, but I will stand there in water, and salmon and trout live in clean water. And one of the things that we're very concerned about is water quality, making sure the toxic stuff comes out of the water, and that those Great Lakes are clean. That's a huge resource for this area. It's something we got to protect. Invasive species are things we have to be very careful about with Asian carp. Now it is a huge priority for us to be part of that conversation.
All right, so when we talk about engagement, how do we start to target the next generation, do you think?
I think we're about to see in the conservation space a lot of changes. Demography is changing. This country is changing. The face of this country is changing. Diversity is becoming a bigger and bigger issue. We also need to be thoughtful about technology. Technology is a tool of engagement. A lot of folks feel, oh, technology, you shouldn't be in these wonderful places with technology. The bad news is, as the father of two millennials, those digital devices are not going to be turned off. So let's use that as a tool to bring that new generation in, to bring those millennials in, to basically answer two questions. Why should I care? Why are these areas important? And how are these relevant to me in my life going forward? We can answer those questions. We'll engage them. Millennials I think are a great opportunity for us, and a group that we have yet to really connect as much as I think we ought to.
You talked a little bit about your background with the Discovery Network, and you were one of the people behind Shark Week. So I have to applaud you here for a moment, because again, it's one of those things that engages people. And you said you're really on the cusp of a lot of that reality environmental television that we're seeing now.
Yeah, Shark Week. I think I've read about 3 different interviews now where half a dozen people have taken credit for Shark Week, which is not unusual. But it was basically, and there was a great article in the Atlantic about how 3 people were in a bar and we wrote it on a cocktail napkin. Completely untrue.
All right, so what's the real story then? You have to tell me.
There was a offsite where folks were talking about how could we improve our ratings during the summer. Broadcasters typically go to repeats, and we said, well, what works? John Hendricks, our chairman and founder, was there. And John and another gentleman, Steve Cheskin, and others were there, and folks said, sharks seem to work pretty well. So it wasn't an epiphany, no light bulb went off. We said, well, we should go buy a week of shark programming. Maybe that'll work pretty well for us. And that was it. It was not some deep, amazing connection with sharks.
But it ended up, you ended up engaging people in terms of you take something that they're fascinated with and you educate them and maybe then can take them, forget the pun, on a deeper dive into learning more about their environment. Could you take that same kind of Shark Week mentality into the work that you're doing now with national parks?
Yeah, I think Shark Week touches something very primal. There is something, I think we're all hardwired to be afraid of things with large teeth that could eat you.
Yes.
I don't think we have quite the same level of connection with the national parks. But these are sacred places. These are places that tell our history, they tell about our culture, they tell about who we are as a people, and they're gorgeous. So it is a little more challenging, but what we did learn from Shark Week is you could tell a great story, have a little fun, and then connect back to why you should care, why did it matter. So we worked, my last year there, we worked with then Senator John Kerry to help pass anti-shark finning legislation. So you had a little bit of the carbs, and then you had a little bit of the spinach as well, and that seemed to work pretty well for us.
All right, before I let you go, Clark, you have to tell me, so what's your favorite reality program that you're watching now? Oh, you can't say you don't watch it.
I have a couple of really bad habits. One is, my wife and others will kill me for saying this, I do watch Housewives. I'm sorry to say.
Stop the press. The cameras are just going to stop rolling right
I'm
now.
sorry to say, I have watched that. And I've also, I've been engaged, there's a couple shows, one on Discovery that is called Fast and Loud that I think they do a good job with. But I also feel, there's not much that's really real about reality anymore. When it started, it was. And that was fun, and you thought you were kind of lifting the curtain and seeing into somebody's life. That was fascinating and interesting. And now so much of it just isn't real. When I left Discovery, I was working on a show, beginning of a show called Moonshiners. And after 27 years, I said, I had a great run, but
it's time to be done.
It's time to do something. It's time to do something else. Try to pivot from sharks to parks.
All right, and we can't wait to see what the rest of the journey will be for you. Clark Bunting, CEO of National Parks Conservation Association. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thanks very much.
I appreciate it.